What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated, 3-division world champion, 2-division undisputed world champion, who is widely acknowledged and recognized as the #1 pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, and Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Bud Crawford is 40 wins, no loss, no draw, 31 big wins by way of knockout. He is 36 years of age, 5'8", with a 74-inch arm reach. He gives us an update, a slight update. And Terence Crawford, he lets us know that he is not indeed signed to the Premier Boxing Champion with founder and advisor Al Heyman, better known as the PBC. And he also states that he's ready to get on with this rematch. He has an immediate rematch clause with former unified 3-belt WBA, WBC, IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr., who is now 28 wins, suffered the 1 loss and no draws, 22 wins by way of knockout, 33 years of age, 5'9" with a 72-inch arm reach. He suffered that loss July 29th, Las Vegas, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena, at the hands of none other than Terence Bud Crawford, who dropped him in the second round, twice in the 7th round, and stopped him in the 9th round, right? The fight, shockingly, wasn't close. It wasn't a competitive fight. I gave Errol Spence the first round and in the first half of the 3rd round. But from that point forward, Terence Crawford, he took control of the fight, and he dominated the fight and shockingly stopped Errol Spence in a one-sided affair. With that said, Errol Spence in the negotiations negotiated, he and Terence Crawford, that the loser has the right 30 working business days to activate an immediate rematch clause, to which immediately Errol Spence activated the rematch clause. And so Terence Crawford has to oblige. But Terence Crawford doesn't sound too enthused, doesn't sound too motivated by the rematch. And Terence Crawford, he was asked, how's the rematch going to play out? And he said, exactly the same. What's going to change? Nothing. And he's not signed with the PBC. So he said he senses the PBC his well wishes. And he hopes that they land after we got the information in the news that Showtime is deciding to get out this business of the sport of boxing after being in the business of the sport of boxing for 37 years. Showtime has been in the sport of boxing, a pillar in the sport of boxing. And they decided to move on from the sport of boxing. And so now the Premier Boxing Champion, founder and advisor Al Heyman, they have to find a new network in which to land on to showcase their stable of fighters that include Errol Spence. And it indirectly includes Terence Crawford. But where else is Terence Crawford going to go? Because he was with legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO Bob Arum and ESPN and Top Rank. And he parted ways. And he stated Bob Arum can't secure the big fights that he's looking for, so he had to go about his business. He's a network promotional free agent. And now, another thing Terence Crawford stated, things need to change in the sport of boxing when it comes to the managers, the promoters, and these networks controlling the fighters. And he says soon enough, those things will change. But he has this immediate rematch with Errol Spence. And he said, I hope they land on the best possible stable place for the sport of boxing and for them. But I'm not signed to anybody. And I'm looking to do bigger things in the future. He don't even want to talk about the Errol Spence fight. When asked about the Errol Spence fight, Terence Crawford, he stated, we still talking about the Errol Spence fight? And to that, he was met with a response that, well, this is going to be talked about for years to come, historically. He said, I know, but it's time to move on to better things, bigger and better things, other things, where it's time for us to grow. But first, I got to handle this business with this rematch, and then I'll be looking for things in the future. So essentially, all of the talk that Errol Spence suffered a broken rib, the move now looks like Errol Spence and Terence Crawford rematch is going to be at junior middleweight, 154. And Errol Spence was weight drained. So all of these things, Terence Crawford is out to prove a point. He's motivated by proving the point that nothing will change. He's not really motivated about having to fight Errol Spence again, but he seems to be motivated by nothing will change and to show the people Had nothing to do with him being weight drained. Had nothing to do with the broken rib. Had everything to do with my skills, and people will get on board. But let's just listen to what Terrence Bud Crawford he had to say. Let's listen.
Chilling right now and weighing my options, and I got the rematch that I have to.
So you see, he said I'm weighing my options and what I want to do next, who I want to fight, and what direction I want to go in. But first, I got to handle this rematch clause with Errol the True Spence Jr. Let's listen.
Before I do another fight, so we just waiting on that.
So he said I got to weigh my options and see what I want to do next. But before I do another fight, I got to honor this rematch clause with Errol the True Spence Jr. And once we done with that, then we'll see where we go next.
You know what I mean? Land on the best one possible.
So he's discussing that he's not with the PBC, and he's hoping that they land in the best possible position for the sport of boxing, but he's not with them.
For them, I'm not signed with anybody right now, so that don't apply to me.
Well, he says that I'm not assigned to anybody, so that doesn't apply to me, but it does apply to you because where you have this rematch clause with Errol Spence is where they're going to get the money to pay the purse for you for the rematch clause. So it does apply to you. And the big fights that you're looking for, in particular, 4-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, who's the undisputed super middleweight world champion, who is widely considered, acknowledged, and recognized as the face of the sport of boxing in Saul Canelo Alvarez, he too is with the PBC. And any other fight, if you want Keith Thurman or any other big fight for that matter, for Terrence Crawford, Jamal Charlo, all of those fights and all of those fighters are part of the PBC stable. So you're not signed, but it does indirectly affect you because where are you going to go to have another major marquee fight? Now, again, Terrence Crawford is not in the business of staying in the sport of boxing for much longer. He wants to secure that fight with Canelo Alvarez. But Canelo Alvarez still has a 2-fight deal with the PBC, which means that Canelo Alvarez, at the very least, is going to fight through 2024 with the PBC. We know he's going to fight May 4th, Cinco de Mayo weekend. We know he's going to fight September 2nd, the second week in September, Mexican Independence Day weekend. So unless Canelo Alvarez decides to get a third fight in before the year is up, and even if he did, what network and what platform would he go to? Because Canelo Alvarez could possibly go back to the zone with Matchroom CEO and promoter Eddie Hearn, and then Terrence Crawford will have to go over there in attempts to make a fight happen. But his options are pretty limited. But let's listen.
So I just wish everybody well.
What do you think is going to be this difference between the first fight?
Nothing.
As you heard, what do you think is going to be the difference between the first fight and the second fight? He said nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I'm just chilling right now and weighing my options, and I got the rematch that I have to do before I do another fight, so we just waiting on that. Land on the best one possible. For them. I'm not signed with anybody right now, so that don't apply to me. So I just wish everybody well.
What do you think is going to be this?
So you see, he says that doesn't apply to me, but it does. It indirectly applies to him. And when asked how's the rematch going to play out, listen what he said.
Between the first fight?
Nothing.
Nothing. He said absolutely nothing. So I'm super intrigued. I know many people are not too interested and intrigued by the rematch because of the way the first fight played out and it wasn't competitive. But I personally am intrigued with the second fight. Why? Because the element of surprise is long gone. Now, not to say that people didn't see Terrence Crawford coming, because before the fight I had him ranked as the #1 fighter in the world, at least in my opinion, and many people did. I had him ranked in that position for an extremely long time, as a matter of fact, since 2018. So for 5 years, for me, he's been the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. But the element of surprise with the Errol Spence fight, and how he looked against Errol Spence, that's over. And is Errol Spence going to make adjustments to look better? Is the rib injury a factor? Was the weight a major factor? Can Errol Spence be competitive? Can he fix the flaws and the mistakes that he had? Can it be different? I'm intrigued to see if he indeed could. So I'm intrigued by it. I know many people are not too intrigued by it, and they expect, a replay of the first fight. But at 154, no rib injury, no drain rehydration issues for Errol Spence. Can Errol Spence make the adjustments? Is it a chess match? Or is it just that Terence Crawford is just on a different level than Errol Spence overall, and it simply won't matter? Like he said, nothing. And that's all I got for y'all, man. Hopefully we get this fight. There's a lot of reports, there's a lot of rumors that we can get this fight to take place in March, right? But now we're heading into the first week in December, and obviously there's no announcement. There hasn't been an announcement for the PBC and where they officially plan to land. So with those things all in up in the air, and we don't know what truly is to come. Now we know that the reports are that Amazon Prime is leading the charge to land PBC, and we see their catalog of fights have landed on Amazon Prime. Is that an indication? We're yet to know. But we have a fight coming up December 16th. Okay, David Morrell is going to be fighting December 16th in the Armory in Minnesota. So I expect an announcement by that time. So let's see how that unfolds and plays out with a schedule. I believe there will be a schedule that comes out as well. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. So all I got for y'all. I'm gone. Peace.